Okay, everyone, welcome to, I think this is our fifth roundtable. So thank you again for all of you for working together on the womb. And of course, as you know, it's a real kind of crisis now with the vaccine and other things. And everyone is being affected, but we're right now talking about how it's affecting women and the womb and our cycles and how they've changed. So we want to do everything we can here to strengthen our wombs, and you know, our wombs are the home of the soul. So you know, what's more important when AI is trying to come in, but to really focus on how we can maintain, keep our ensoulment. We're already ensouled. So I'm going to pass it on to all of you, because we all have, I was going to say, we all have tools here individually that we can offer to you in different disciplines that will really help strengthen our wombs. So this is, let's see, I was going to say that we use it daily. That was the big thing I wanted to emphasize, that you know, the idea that the womb is just to create babies, we know is not true. We use it daily, and it in my understanding, it's in relationship with the heart. They're such a team together. So you can't just, oh, I'll just take out my womb, I don't need it anyway. You know, my understanding, and some of you can elaborate, is you know, the heart is more masculine and is the love energy and feeds the womb and nourishes the womb. And the womb is the place of soul and wisdom. And that wisdom is nourishing the heart, you know, and there's such an amazing team together. So that's part of what I want to say. I can say more later, but does anyone else want to offer what tools we can use, or what we should do in this situation?
My sense is that we need to strengthen ourselves and feel like we have very strong defenses. So that can be done through working with specific crystals like hematite, black tourmaline, any kind of super grounding, protective crystals, minerals. Shungite, which comes from Russia, that's actually really good also for EMF protection. And also just like mantras, just you know, positive affirmations. Like for me, I always allude to the Hindu goddess Durga, who, when the world was falling apart and the demons were almost ready to take over, she was the only one to be called in. She destroyed all the demons. So her mantra is just, "Hey Mata Durga." That's it. You just say, "Hey Mata Durga." You can sing it. You can probably find the mantras online on YouTube. She rides a white tiger or an orange tiger, and she's extremely fierce. And so she's like the great mother in her warrior aspect. And that's what you really want. You know, some really fearsome, or Kali, some very strong, powerful, you know, warrior goddess energy, you know, to kind of protect the womb, to protect your body, your environment, the people you love. You know, visualizing that, that's what I would really recommend at this time. And really centering yourself in nature, you know, centering yourself really in the earth, in the ground. If you can get out in nature, all the better. You know, we were talking about that just before.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
I mean, there's so many layers to this. I was thinking before coming on, where do I start? But I actually sense very strongly that the breath is really involved with this, very much so. Mm-hmm. And I'll expand the image from the little core. Okay, so I will eventually get to the heart and the womb out of this, but my sense is that the breath, and the sense that through the breath, we are in dialogue with the world around us. We are connected. And so reaffirming that we are connected to the entirety of creation through the breath. We receive from the creation and we give back. When we focus on our breath, when we do meditation, it's important to affirm that connection, because what I see happening right now has a lot to do with isolation and has a lot to do with hypoxia, a lack of oxygen. So for me, this affirming this connection is extremely important. Now, on an interesting sideline, in my studies, which were in anthroposophy, and in my meditation work, the breath is also a pathway of destruction. It brings in death spirit forces. All right. So we need to enliven our breath with our whole body, with our mind, and with our soul. And so that to me is very, very important. Part of my practice of enlivening the breath is actually working with, as you said, Tara, sounds, formative sounds, sounds that are actually connected to the womb energy. So the consonants, the strong consonants, and then ensouling those with the vowels. So that's what we see in all the seed mantras, right? Hama, Gamma, Rakamana, all these things. They have those consonant vowel pairings that enliven the breath and make it a force for healing. Whereas when we do it unconsciously, when we breathe unconsciously, we can bring in, we can cause our life force to decline, right? So that's, to me, very important. And then the other thing I wanted to mention too is that it's really important to connect with our heart. And when we think of our heart, too, as women, think of our womb. Though, as you mentioned, Maureen, those things are in dialogue with each other. There's almost been a type of brainwashing where we just think heart, 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 or womb. We don't bring the two together. It's really important in our meditation and our time to bring those two things together, so that they are in a healing dialogue with one another, and that they're feeding our breath as well. So we're getting life force from the outside in, from the sounds from the universe, and we're getting life force energy from inside out through the dialogue between the heart and the womb. And this is what's enlivening our breath. And when we breathe, we're touching the world and we're bringing it back in. We're affirming our dialogue. We're affirming a presence of soul in the world. We're not machines. We're not isolated. We're not cut off. So there's a lot more I could say about all of these things, but those to me are very, very important. And the other aspect is connecting with earth currents. And I can talk more about that later, but I will talk more about it later. But that's what came to me in preparing for the meet for this today. Yeah.
Can I ask a question, Karen? When you say intentional breathing, do you always make a sound, or is it internally you say that? Because
no, I always make sounds now. I think it's very important to vocalize. I think we, without making the sound, for me, I just sense it doesn't go into my physical body. And I find that the womb really needs the resonance of the physical body right now.
So
Yeah.
when you're cooking, let's say, or doing stuff without being in a conversation, you will make these sounds. Is that
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm using speech practices all the time now in my life, because, and it was interesting. I had a phone call with 3 other women last week, and we all came onto the call feeling really kind of heavy. And we spent 2 hours doing these soundings, and we all had a little bit of color, or our blood started to flow, our pulse started to be, so it really seemed, I mean, just from the observation, we noticed it was healing. It was helpful.
And I'm sorry to ask so many questions. I'm just really trying to get a sense. Can you demonstrate it? Just because I'm curious about the rhythm, the timing.
Yeah. So for instance, one thing I might do would be, here's a breathing exercise. So I'll just do 3 lines of it. Okay. The thing in this one is that I must let go of all of my exhalation. And then fully take in an inhalation before I start to speak again. Now it sounds nonsensical, but the words don't matter. It's the sounds. And these are what we call fricative sounds. So they're fire sounds. They're helping feed my air. Okay. So this is the first one. I'm going to try and fulfillment grows. Through hoping. Grows through longing. Through willing. Willing weaves. In wavering. Weaves in quavering. Weaves quavers. And so on. So, I mean, I'm exaggerating it with you right now. I mean, it doesn't seem, it's just breathing out fully, receiving fully of the in-breath, coming back in, and then fully giving back. That's a breath exercise. That's for me to get aware of my breath. Now, there's a whole lot of other things I can do as well with consonants or, you know, with forming sounds. There's all sorts of things. I can do that very quietly. I don't have to do it loudly. But it is important that I am using all of my exhalation, that I am using it all up. That's why I extended the S. And then I fully receive the inhalation coming back in. And then I can then go again. So I'm enlivening my breath through the sound rather than just sitting there like in meditation, like I used to do in yoga. And I would like do all sorts of mechanical things with my breath and with my diaphragm and my hyoid bone and all this kind of stuff. And it was all kind of inward. I'm actually really trying to make it connect with the outside world and then receive from coming back in. I don't know if you can see it or not.
Yeah.
I just see it.
I'm just curious. This takes a lot. You can't do other things while you're doing this. This is a focus, right?
Yes. But even so, when you're doing things like cooking, like for instance, this then communicates into, I know this doesn't sound like much to do with the womb, but to me, it actually has a lot to do with it. You know, when I'm cutting, for instance, cutting on a cutting board, my old way of doing things was like to go, you know, like everything was coming from me. But now I'm imagining, and I'll even make sounds when I'm doing it. I'm imagining that something is pulling the knife down and it's doing it for me. And I'm receiving it back, and then I'm pushing back down. And so I'll be making sounds like this, like ba, boom, pia, pa, sha, go. You know, like, and it'll just be, and I think it's really important to be making sounds when I'm doing it, just like the old seed mantras. Where did they come from? They must have come from people doing practices of some sort, like engaging with the world. They just didn't come out of nowhere. So, I mean, I think that there's this sort of reality of living as a sounding being, connecting my heart and my womb and my breath. And then I can reclaim like my sovereignty in the world. And just like what you were saying, Tara, this is like defense. This is like, you know, not letting these foreign things that are coming at us, for whatever means, get in, you know, plus projecting some love and healing energy into the world, a soul energy.
Right.
Awesome.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, also, Karen, when you were doing that, I started tapping on my heart chakra, which is like my old Tibetan Buddhist guru. Before I heard it tapping, he would say, yes, just do that tap on your sternum. And then I was doing that with my left hand, and my right hand was on my womb, but you could also like tap on your womb, like,
Mhm.
you know, this is not
Yeah.
EFT. It just felt like, okay, let's wake those two things up, you know.
That's
And then I see it like the, you know, the heart womb connection is like an upright infinity symbol. You know, it's like this infinite loop, like, you know, as above, so below, gives it a whole other meaning, the heart and the womb, you know, and whereas normally infinity goes this way, and then it makes that diagonal cross, Maureen, like you were talking about, right? So,
Yeah, that's great.
mhm,
Yes, so even when doing that, you could like there, like I could add that in, that
Mhm.
envisioning of that vertical figure eight,
mhm, mhm,
and like actually being a dynamo. It's a power source.
mhm.
What
Yes.
about a horizontal figure eight too?
Well, yeah,
Horizontal one,
that's the
and
thing.
that
It's
too.
yeah, they use that actually symbol as a in Tibetan Buddhism.
Yeah.
It's called you know, that. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Karen.
Thanks, Karen.
I just wanted to echo what Karen was saying about the sound. And that's something that I have really just taken into my practice the past month is the sound. And I'm really focusing and breathing into my womb and then exhaling the sound that comes out. So I'm working with certain vowels and certain consonants. But to me, it's like I find right now I have a lot to release. I'm releasing fear all the time, like constant. And I can actually feel a buildup that is happening within me when I don't do my practice. So I'll actually incorporate, I'll go from the sound and then I'll move into a movement practice with the sound. So, and I find it's imperative right now for me to practice every day. So that's kind of the, what I think we all should be doing is every day it's the time right now to become so solid about your practice. It's just, yeah.
Why are you needing it every day? Essentially because you're not feeling well? Like,
I think, well, there's so much, I'm really trying to stay away from the outside influences and connect because I feel an urgency to stay connected.
good.
That's what
Yeah,
I feel like.
there you go.
That's the most important thing right now above the media, nothing. All that's important is my connection with my womb and with the, you know, that's the only most important thing right now I feel for myself.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really feeling that too. I know I got a message from Madeline Merritt, who runs the ground. She just said, you know, just get off all social media for May. You know what I mean? Like, and people are going, yeah, like, okay, I don't want to hear about it. I'm just going to really focus, you know, get out in the land. It's May Day tomorrow, you know, which is a, you know, fertility festival, very ancient. So it's kind of nice to coincide and really you know, the fairies come out tonight. And also when I was talking about any kind of warrior goddess, you know, whether it's Bridget or Pele or whatever culture you're in, you know, you call on whatever warrior goddess works for you, you know.
I wanted to mention then that my experience in the last few days with all this rain, I think that's really helpful for us too, to cleanse, and all the ions, it supports our meditations and all these different practices we're, you know, trying to step up. And just literally sitting at the base of my little waterfall, like I just felt really, really, it was tangible, the difference, really cleansed and fresh start. So yeah, get out in nature and get out in the rain, you know, put your raincoat on or whatever.
You know, I was reading that book by the heart guy, the cosmic heart, human heart, cosmic heart, and he was saying how healthy water, you know, is water that has vortexes going on, you know, through rivers there, and waterfall will have plenty. Yeah, human heart, cosmic heart.
Oh, okay. Who is the author of that book?
Thomas Cowan.
And I actually have
Thomas Cowan.
questions to write to him because he's the one who said that the womb and the heart have the same intermediary muscle, which I don't know what that means exactly. And maybe you know, Karen. Do
I
you know
don't really
you
know.
don't know?
But it's
I have
kind
to
of
email
fascinating.
him. He mentioned the word womb once in the whole book in that context. And I'm like, okay, he's got something. He's got something I need to find out about. And I mean, it's fascinating because I'm going to get off tangent here. I want to go back to what you're saying, Maureen. The vortexes of the water, of the waterfall. I feel like I mean, there's so much more to say about this, but because the blood in the body, he says, the heart is creating the vortex for the blood. It's creating vortices for the blood because it's the tissue of the heart is twisted, and then the whole organ is a spiral. So this blood is, and he doesn't talk about the spiral of the heart. That's in another video that I saw, a dissected heart twirled. It's a complete wrapped around itself, which is unbelievable. So this whole thing about our blood is also like, has a lot of water in it. And so it has the same, well, but we're 70% water, right? So anything to do with water is like so good, moving water. And I just feel like this metaphor of being in movement, like, and then having our voice, it's all about being in movement. You know, we are meant to be in some form of movement. So, you know, meditation is awesome, but we also need movement. Stillness is good, and movement is also good.
Well, it's like the heart, you know, there's a, you know, in breath, out breath, the pause, the pump, you know, you always have to balance those two things out, right?
Yeah, there's breath. I mean, there is movement even in stillness. It's tuning into the movement within that can enhance, I think, our stillness. You know?
We can start talking too at some point about dance too, because not only belly dance is related to enlivening the womb, but that Spanish dance. Oh my God, is
Flamenco.
that you know, stomping your feet, flamenco, and that? I mean, that's good for right now too, like really putting your foot down.
Yes.
I love it.
Country dance. It's a great
Yes.
country dance.
Yes.
It's
And
so
it's in the
Or Irish dancing, or, you know, any kind of dancing that really, you know, stomp it out kind of, you know,
Yeah.
like
And
literally
what
stomp it out.
I have to say though, that because I've done dance for this long, and now that I'm doing womb power movement, I'm now connecting the womb to my legs, to my hips, as I'm moving, as I'm feeling the earth. It's like, and it's a whole new ball game. I'm like, and when you talk about chopping the
Ball game. Okay. Sorry.
what did you say?
No,
Ball game. She reacted to the word ball game.
Oh, ball game.
I'm teasing. No more base.
When we were talking about chopping the vegetables, I always was taught, and it couldn't quite get it, but you know, we tend to use our arms a lot. We think that it all comes from the arms. No, you can source from the earth up into the womb and use just, so I like consciously, I'll be chopping, I'm going, oh God, I'm getting sore. And then I'll go, don't put any effort into the arm. Let it all come through the legs, the womb, the core. And it's like a whole other experience. It feels like, oh, this is power, you know, but it's a circuit you have to connect within yourself. You know what I mean? It doesn't just happen, you know? So that's been very exciting to, you know, and even
It sounds like, sorry.
One more thing, even getting out of
Yes.
a chair, I usually will try to push my arms down and pull myself up. It's like, no, plant my feet on the ground and just lift off with that leg power. And it just feels so good every time I do it. It's like a body epiphany.
I like a body epiphany. These are probably all things that we knew naturally, and we've just gotten disconnected from, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I mention you Michelle and Helen were talking about that book, and this guy was talking about human heart and cosmic heart. And that's exactly what we're trying to process, I think, with the womb. Is there's the human womb and the cosmic womb, and this seems to be a big thing we have to clear.
Good book title.
Yes, I like that. That is a good book title.
Okay,
I'll write a book together.
Yeah, I like that cosmic womb, because that's the way I've always talked about it. It's like I call it the yoni verse, you know, like, I mean, people have been talking about it that way. It is the great womb, the great void, that, you know, that's the cosmic womb. That's where everything comes from.
Let's talk about the difference between the personal soul and the cosmic soul, because I don't think it's clear.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Helen or Karen, you want it? Then somebody?
You're the one that has a lot to say, my dear.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to give, I want to hear what you think. I don't want to, maybe I'm wrong.
Well, if you get the ball rolling, which you're very good at, I think you'll
Mhm.
inspire.
It will. A lot of, you know what, I think I learned the start of this from Karen, actually. And then I went from there, but
Nice.
because but it was also from the Andean teaching too.
Hmm.
That the cosmic womb was Sophia, was Viracocha, was wisdom, was and sorry, did I say the cosmic soul?
Mhm,
Did I say cosmic womb? I
mhm.
mean, the cosmic soul is in the cosmic womb, and it is does not have any personal issues in it. You know, it doesn't. And the difference seemed to be that the personal soul was more connected with ancestral bloodline karma issues, you know, and can be really entangled. And the womb does not have this, and that's what Michelle and I have been having some debates about, like, because I'm saying in that case, that's how we can create babies and more, because it is absolutely a pocket of heaven and very separate from the rest of the body. I thought, this is weird. It's like, this isn't really, is this really part of us? And then Michelle is bringing up, but look, now we're starting to get disease physically in the womb. So what does that do? Does that mean those women can't create babies or high divine? Like, what does that mean? So I'll pass that on.
From my understanding, you know, like there's like an infinite soul, or you could talk about it that way. That's, you know, like never ending cosmic soul, whatever. And then, you know, it goes from, you know, spiritual, mental, emotional, physical. So if women are having physical problems with their womb, that means it's just densified. You're just at this lower, the fact is you're in this lower vibration, and that's why they're getting physical problems. Do you know what I mean? But it always starts from the spiritual, so it's always to me a disconnect from that real spiritual source, which if you just connect to that and you know, work out whatever all those levels coming down, like that's what they talk about in the tree of life, you know, coming down, bringing the real soul, cosmic soul, down into your womb. It's again, like we've forgotten, or we've gotten disconnected. It's like on some level it's never connected. Do you know what I mean? Like if it is infinite and whole, and you know, we're always in it, and it's super pure, it's Sophia, you know, there's a disconnect on another level. Does that make sense?
And so these meditations and these practices can help increase and activate and bring
all of it, the breathing, the
back.
sounding, the dancing, the water, you know, whatever, you know, that's all we need, those tools.
Even joining together in groups, I think I'm gonna be, opening up like a sounding group with women, just to get together with other women and create this space.
Yeah,
I think is important.
yeah, that's a nice idea.
I'm really glad that we have a sense of Sophia as this sort of the ever fecund, ever generating womb, because that was a really old understanding of, she was, one of her names way back was the intangible womb. But I think that unfortunately the patriarchal mystery cults kind of got in there and made her into some sort of bringer of evil into the world. She had to birth certain sort of demonic beings, and there was all this other sort of stuff that went on. So yeah. And it made its way a lot into Freemasonry. So I think that we all have more of an intuitive and immediate understanding of this as women. Of course, these mystery cults were largely generated through men. And we have an intuitive sense that there is a generative power in the universe that is of wisdom, and of all the templates and the patterns of all life is contained within it, and is part of it, and we all participate in it. But as we're tricked, I think, to live in such a way that we have our life force act against us, or we suppress it, I think that's when we end up with the coming from the spiritual plane, as Tara said. These are spiritual, like these are soul disorders, these ideas we have, but then they manifest on the physical level. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, I think we need to affirm that wisdom, Sophia, or the cosmic womb, however we, Viracocha, however we say it, is very benevolent. It's how everything works together for the good of all. Like, I mean, it's really, so I think there's sometimes a bit of an uphill battle with that. I know certainly in my own studies that I've done, there's been negative views of Sophia.
Wow.
So even amongst women. Mm-hmm. So, but I think if we know, we have an intuitive grasp that, you know, before we get tricked, you know, into thinking that it's somehow different than that.
And is she not also connected with soul, like cosmic soul too, isn't she?
Yes.
So to me, it's like they're like the masculine and feminine complements, you know, the womb and the heart, the soul and the spirit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Feminine, masculine. So again, I guess it's just the feminine being humanized.
Yep.
Are you saying this? So what would you say the differences between the soul and the spirit? Is there,
Oh, masculine, feminine.
is that it? But is there, I mean,
That's a whole big long discussion, I think, right?
We were just talking about qualities of the soul.
Right.
Yeah. Of being
Well, maybe
soul.
you want to talk about those, Maureen, you know, the soul qualities, you know, or
That's, you've got your beautiful separate, the grid with the two
Mhm.
sides. Is that it?
Not really, no.
Okay.
The grid?
Not the
You
grid,
mean
but
the
you've
quadrant?
got the masculine, feminine qualities. Is that
No,
what-
that's something else, really. But no, I think I love the way everyone presented about the soul and the cosmic soul. I think that's really helpful, especially when we're wanting to strengthen our wombs right now and get conscious of how powerful they really are and how much more we can call in if we're conscious using the dance and, like you're saying, and all these the water, and you know, we can do it.
Mhm.
But like Helen was saying, we can't sit right now physically womb to womb in big circles, which I think is the most powerful, right? Do you think we can do this long distance just by setting up times? And
Yeah, remember we did that womb, we all meditated together, and I think we all felt it was quite powerful. So, you know, like Michelle, maybe we'd all do a virtual dance sound, you know, water pouring by the waterfall. I mean, I mean, ideally, if Maureen could be out there by her waterfall, and you know, just do it, you know, and invite women to come, because it would be a virtual healing circle. I mean, that's what I've been finding in my meditations. I've been doing these new moon and full moon meditations, and I give the meditation, then I channel, and it's like really powerful. And I do feel the amped up energy of all the people there. So, and you know, it's just like to give it away to the world to help, you know, because to me, it's like once you connect with that sense of this infinite cosmic soul, right? Like really, it just comes in. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm always here. You just need to kind of, it's like your guardian angels, you know, we're always here. Just call us up, you know, it's just about being aware. And boom, like, oh, right, of course, I forgot. That was always there. Like, what kind of an illusion am I in here? You know, or fear or any of that stuff, you know? So to me, it's like, okay, it's just your awareness of it, like whatever tools you need to do that and to stay there. That's the whole point, you know, of any kind of meditation practice or anything.
so in that case, can we talk a little bit about the redirecting, you know, of the blood in the womb to the heart? That was a big thing that we were going to share, was that, you know, here is this precious elixir that's imbued with Sophia, and we're going to waste it? I don't think so. So actually, Helen, is it the any practices in the tantric there that you can briefly describe to redirect to the heart? So then the idea is that that womb blood energy is flowing through our veins and just totally empowering us, right?
Mhm.
Nice.
I think I think some of the practices I have shared with you before, but a lot of them are probably fairly similar to what Michelle does, is pulling the energy up from the womb to the heart and then bringing it back down. And that's what I do in my sounding practice, like before I start. And I work a lot with my spine. And as you all know, like I herniated a disc, and I know not so nobody should have no fear of this, but I know it was a huge block that I was working through my spine. And it was through doing that I was moving it up from the womb to the heart and down, but with the breath and with the sound. And it really made me consciously aware. And I'm someone that just practices a lot about blocks that, blocks and energy that I'm holding in my body. Sorry, I'm going a little off track here. But that is a practice that I do. But with every practice, I wanted to say that recently I've been honoring the elements with every practice before I go into it. I feel like all these things are important now and are changing within my practice. So I always honor every element, and then I ground, and then I go in, and then I start with the breath, big breath in, and then pulling it up and pulling it down. And then I'll wait for that primordial wave movement to move through the spine. And that's the process. And then the sound comes, and I sound like I'm a dying hyena sometimes or something, but it's gonna come out, right?
Right.
I don't know about that wave process. I'd really like to learn that from you.
Yeah, I have a feeling this is it's gonna connect with the Torah and all that. I just actually sent on,
Taurus.
yeah, Taurus, sorry. I have a
Interesting
feeling
you say that
it's
too.
all connecting.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Helen, because I know when I was saying before about fully receiving the in-breath, and I experienced the full reception of the in-breath, sort of like an undulating movement. So it feels like, okay, now it's in. I've received it. I'm not forced it. I've just allowed it to come in. And I know when I'm forcing it because I don't experience the undulation. And I know it's because I'm rushing it and I'm thinking I'm doing something. Whereas when I'm just allowing it to come in, I can feel that sort of little, I call it like a little wave or something going up. It just feels like there's a little wave has gone up the spine. And to me, that means the in-breath, I've really received it. And that's a big practice for me because when I was a yoga teacher, I was very controlling, and I am quite a controlling personality. So, I mean, like, and so it was very much about, I'm doing the pose now and I'm doing, and I did not, it took a lot for me to actually really receive the breath in these poses. And so what you're sharing with me, I hadn't even thought of it in that way before you shared, but that makes so much sense because that's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for this little, I call it the little shiver to go up the spine. And that to me means that I've actually received the in-breath. I'm actually just allowing it rather than thinking it, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah. And that's a big issue for me because I'm very cerebral and very in my head. And so for me to really get into those lower limbs and to really allow them to be rather than me telling them what to be, like it's a lot. I'm so excited about what you're sharing. I'm sorry, I hope I didn't interrupt you too much or anything, but yeah. Please go on.
Yeah, say, is that how you relate to the undulation also, Helen? Say more. I'm just curious because I love hearing what you're talking about, Karen, and I want to hear more because I have a whole thing with undulation too, and I just wonder if it's the same thing. I'm just curious. They're all shades,
I
Like,
think it's
are you saying it's an automatic undulation that starts? No, you're initiating it.
no,
Okay.
that's the thing. There's the point of surrender.
Mhm.
And it's coming into that point of surrender. And then there's this fine somatic movement that happens in the body when you're in that place of surrender. And it's just right. And when you first come in, you'll feel everything kind of go, and then it just starts to flow. And I feel like that's That's our wave. That's our healing. That's our connection, right? But
Is
yeah,
that how you're redirecting
yes.
consciously womb blood to your body,
Now I haven't,
to your veins?
yeah, I haven't with the primordial with the breath and stuff. I've just been allowing the breath to be what it is. Like I don't focus it. That's where it goes.
Okay.
That's where it goes, right? So,
I'm in my head too. What can I say?
yeah, it always goes there. It just feels like it's so natural that that's what it wants. And it could be forming triangles. It could be whatever it is, because I get so lost in it that it can be like half an hour 40, and I don't even know, and I'm just so into it. And then comes the breath, and it's quite an experience. Yeah.
Well, I would love to see it sometime. It would be awesome to get a transmission from both of you doing your practices like that. And then I'll show you my undulation. I'll show you mine, you show me yours. Because I just think this energy in the body, it's not going to be the same for everyone, right? But it's like getting familiar with this experience of energy in your body. Like most of us don't think about the energy in our body. We just don't think about it. So I think it's expanding the field of understanding for everyone to start connecting to their own. And I have other stories of feeling energy in my body for different things. And I just think it's fascinating. It's like getting to know your own energy. And then being conscious about it, as Maureen is talking about, like directing it. There's allowing, there's directing, there's different ways, I think it's very empowering.
Yeah, because we want to get aware of that powerful womb blood, and how magical it is. It has been really, really hidden. We really want that in our heart.
What is your experience, Maureen? I'd love to hear your experience with that practice, like how you feel it, or how is it?
I'm just learning it. Like I'm just been studying it intellectually and through art and everything. But that's why I'm wanting to connect with Alan to learn these different, because I'm a beginner in actually working it.
But you have such commitment and devotion, and it's such an anchor for.
I know. I'm just a bit obsessed, it seems.
I love that.
I'm hoping that if we don't have time now, next time, this is leading into the Taurus, right? Where that cosmic soul gets to us. And then I was learning that it comes not just from the Earth's Taurus, but times 2 through the Sun's Taurus. And then Karen has knowledge from the Christian background on the Sun and Mary and that. So that I think is really helpful too for this crisis we're in with this.
So Maureen, is there a simple way that we could give people just to give them a real sense of how they direct the blood?
Well, that's why I was asking Helen which method she's using. She's using this wave method, and I had learned that it was the breath of fire, that to really, energetically. That's what Cindy used to teach, the breath of fire, right, Karen?
Yes,
To bring it up.
to bring the blood up, the womb blood up.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And that's why those fricatives, like when I was saying, fulfillment grows, like these fricative sounds to me are very important because they're fire sounds, and they help me feel the air, because fire is fed by air. And so it's like that the feeling of the breath. It's a real journey to discover ourselves again. We're the undiscovered countries.
Yes.
So like
Good point.
I also really would love, it's very hard to do it on this type of format without physically seeing it, but for me, a very beautiful thing, what Michelle was sharing about the vortices, right? The one in the heart and the one in the womb, and how they meet each other and how they're engaging each other. Well, I found several years ago these things called earth current dances.
Hmm.
And the arms are connected to the heart and they move in particular direction and they follow the surface ocean currents. And then the legs move in different directions and they're connected with the womb and they follow the deep ocean currents.
Oh, I love it.
Mhm.
It's very beautiful. I mean, I do an exercise every night called the threefold spiral, which help activate those currents.
Mm.
But I don't know. I just I know there's so much more there to feel. You know what I mean? There's so much more because there's these vortices are being built through our limbs. Like that, I think, who was it talking before about the arms and the legs? Oh yes, it was you, Michelle.
Mhm.
And you're doing everything with your arms and everything like this, and then you've got your legs, which are the deep ocean currents,
And I'm not
and
sure.
they're giving you that vortex in your womb, like when you're connecting those earth currents. So I just find it I've been moved to tears so many times through those exercises, like through those currents, because like what Helen was saying, you really feel the blockages, like you can feel it. And then it's just staying with it and breathing through it. And, it's just, anyway, I love to show you the current exercises at some
Yeah.
point, but I can't really do them online because
Right.
you actually have to see the movements. You know what I mean? It's like trying to teach dance.
Well, that's what Michelle does, right?
Well, yeah, I mean,
I find it hard to do.
well, the way I'm teaching it though is guiding people into their own body. So I don't
Right.
see most of the people on Zoom. They're doing their own things and
Right.
I'm holding a space but I do want to teach certain things now that are to take it to a next level because I do think we can expand our skills, and not to, but I like everyone to have their own experience, but I like to also offer something to go deeper each time. But I had this experience in class last night where I was teaching the heart and the womb because I feel like before we get to the
Bless you.
bless you, what Maureen is teaching, I feel like everyone has to just feel their heart and feel their womb first. Like it's just not everyone. I do. I have to feel it. I have to get connected to it. I have to make relationships between these two. And I'd had this big heart awareness in a session on Monday where I had realized that my sexuality was so connected to my heart being open. And I was like, oh yeah, those times in my life where I could feel my desire were because my heart was open. So in the class, I was like, we spent a long time feeling into the heart and just feeling a time when it had been open or just feeling it now and letting it open just by feeling it and blah, blah, blah. And then just feeling the energy of the heart just expanding and then going, well, what's happening now in the womb? How's your womb feeling with your heart being open now? Just establishing rapport between them and giving a lot of space, like 30 minutes of just feeling the heart and feeling the womb and then feeling the womb and then feeling the heart. And there's so many ways to do it. And there's so many ways to work with these two pieces. But for me, it was like a whole new way that had an emotional quality to it that I hadn't really ever taught before. So I just find it like so exciting to just hear what everyone else does. And then it weaves into, because, I was weaving in the LS in the beginning for a while and all the sacred geometry started naturally occurring in my teaching. It was like, I never even thought of sacred geometry, never could understand it until it was coming through my body. I was like, oh my God, I understand sacred geometry now. And it was because Maureen's stuff was like permeating me. And so the more we get permeated by, you know, each of you talks about it in a different way, and it
Mm.
opens new pathways
Yeah.
for me to feel it, and, you know, not just
Mm.
talk about it, but really feel it. So
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah, and also the emotion is the element of water. You know, so in the tarot, when you're talking about surrender, that's like the card of the hangman in the tarot, you know,
yeah,
where you turn your mental, you know,
right.
upright consciousness downwards into the earth. It's a chthonic, you know, it's Odin. He voluntarily tied himself to the world tree to get to channel the runes from the earth. You know, he got that new language, those new symbols, and they call it a baptism of water. You know, it's one of the maternal letters. There are 3 maternal letters in Hebrew. Those are very distinct. They're not like any of the other letters in the Hebrew alphabet.
Mm.
You know, so I mean, that's a whole teaching in itself. What are those 3 maternal letters all about, right? Like
Wow.
they're the most powerful ones, right?
Right. It's like where these concepts and the body come together is what I'm so interested in. Like, how do you embody what you just said, Tara? Like, you're saying these universal
It's like an
mystery,
archetype, right?
archetypal concepts. And Karen, also, you know, you're steeped in this amazing like wisdom that has an embodied component,
Sophia is here.
right?
But I
But it is what you're talking about. You
head
see, that
canon
archetype
is
is what you're
great.
talking about. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I think it's great. It's not just a symbol. I mean, yeah, I tend to think symbolically. I'm like Karen, I'm very
But
intellectual, you know what I mean?
right, but it's so enriching the two together, you know, when you like what you just said is like sparking all kinds of internal like, whoa, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
because you seem to be really good at embodying it, like taking that and bringing it right down
Mhm.
into your
ooh,
body.
me?
You.
Oh, thank you. Well, it you know, it having this weekly class makes me have to do it now. And it's
Right.
a container that I would not have done it in. And I'm so grateful. It's like
Mm.
I got to show up and I got to have, and sometimes they come in right in the class. So, you know, it's nice. I don't always have to know in advance.
So, so on that topic, Michelle was just saying it's almost a year that she's been doing her classes, which is amazing. And I started doing these new and full moon classes, and part of it is I do a guided meditation, then I channel. And so what showed up last time was these undulating earth dragons. And I had never expected them. And I went, oh, and they were connected to the ley lines on the earth. So everything that you're talking about, like Karen and all of this stuff, I'm going, yeah, I got that message. And they were really powerful. They were in the earth, you know, with the center of the earth, these powerful earth dragons, and that undulation, that's like the Kundalini, that's the snake, you know, that's Lilith, that's all of that energy, you know. It's all there. There's like a million ways to describe it, you know.
Could that be part of bringing the blood up to the heart and into
That's
the
what
body?
I'm wondering, Helen. Is it Kundalini that you're?
Mm-mm.
No, it's not
It's not.
Kundalini. This is what I
No,
wanted to share. I
no,
don't know what
Kundalini
the
Okay.
difference
is very
is.
different. Yes,
It's different.
very different
Okay.
than Tantra yoga. Yeah. A lot of times in my understanding of Kundalini yoga is we're always dealing with the movement up the spine.
Mhm.
Okay. So how I was trained in Tantra yoga was always to follow the orgasm.
Mhm.
So if you're a woman, it drops down. If you're a man, it rises up. So and there was no big force in that. It's like, again, just like the movement that with the Tantra, it's like it just is. It just goes. And it's more of having the awareness of it is all it kind of takes.
And would you
Actually, so
say,
simple, right?
but is that movement that you were talking about, that undulation, is that Kundalini energy?
I think so. I would
Okay.
definitely, absolutely. Or is it, Torres, like what is it, Um,
I find it all very intriguing.
yeah, I'm
But
not
it
sure.
sounds confusing. Sorry, sounds a
Yeah, I'm
bit
not sure.
confusing because you're talking about Kundalini and traditional going up the spine, and what you're talking about now is this womb heart one, which is also undulating. Maybe a
Mhm.
part of Kundalini, maybe a part that we, you know, that maybe has been written out of history, kind of the feminine form of Kundalini. You know what I mean? Like, because we keep finding these repression of the feminine form, you know, because I believe that there's a masculine form and a feminine form, you know, so maybe it's in a whole other thing. I don't know, you know.
Interesting.
Or how can we raise the energy from the womb up to the heart if that's the masculine direction? It's kind of against our
Because we're
nature.
going up and we're going back down. And I just want to add another thing that I've been using is I think we spoke before about the cauldrons, the 3 cauldrons. Well, I've been using a drum. So on the first one, when I'm at my base chakra, I'm doing like a 1 beat, like boom, boom, boom. And then when I'm moving up to the second cauldron, it's 2. And then the third cauldron is 3. So sometimes I'll bring my drum and I'll just boom, 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 but it's going back down again, right? It moves organically. So I guess it's mostly about trusting the process. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'm trying to figure it out too much in my head.
So can I just say, when my teacher, Araya Mountain Dreamer, who wrote the invitation, she was my shamanic teacher for a number of years. She taught fire breathing, and she would always say, you ground into the earth, and then you bring the energy up from the earth into the first chakra, and you get that going. You always bring it up, and you bring it back down to the earth. So she said the whole reason the orgasm starts is from the earth. So you would always then go up to the second one, bring it down to the earth, and then it would naturally just go on its own.
That's different from the teaching that
Yeah,
I
so it was a
received.
different way of doing
Yeah,
it.
because
Yeah.
Shakti always descends. That's what I was taught, is that Shakti descends.
Mhm.
And if you follow, again, follow the orgasm, the man goes up and we go down. So I was told that's how the life force, but that's just another teaching. Yeah.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
do have to say, like in the speech work, I had very powerful orgasm sexual experiences, certainly in the first years of my learning it.
Mhm.
And they were very ascending. So I'm wondering, you see that, I think that speech path is a bit more masculine. That's what my sense of it is, that, but I think it's still really important because it's allowing the womb energy, the archetypes to speak, you see. So, and to voice.
Ah.
I don't understand that Shakti goes down. Like, I just don't feel that. Usually, if I get turned on, the energy goes up. So I don't understand it going down. I mean,
Oh,
It's following the orgasm when the orgasm happens. When you think about when you have an orgasm, the actual moment of the orgasm, how does that feel? Like to me, I feel my orgasm moving downwards, and I'm following the motion. Like if we look at the lingam, it's up. The orgasm shoots up. The woman, we orgasm downward, right? So it's not necessarily, maybe this is more the physical aspect of the orgasm we're talking about, but that's the Tantra teaching that I come
No.
from.
I don't understand it. I haven't felt that exactly. And it might be because I'm not tuned into it exactly. Because I do feel that just feeling my body feels like a descending feeling, like dropping in, I feel like that's a downward kind of energy to feel. But when I feel the turn on, I feel the energy going up. And so I like, oh, I didn't even think of it ever going down. So it's when you say it goes down, you mean you feel excitement down here go down into the genitals? Like into
No, I'm talking about the physical orgasm. When it orgasms and you're looking at a lingam, that's going upward, right? When a yoni, when we're having an orgasm, it's a downward motion.
what's
The fluid moves downward, the semen moves upward. So he always follow the orgasm.
oh, you
It's
just mean the fluid coming out.
yeah, yeah.
But
So
the
I always follow.
but the energy, don't you feel energy rising up? No?
I do.
You do?
But when I
Okay.
orgasm, it's going down.
During the orgasm, it's going down?
Yes, it's going down, it's descending.
Is
Now
it
that could be because I've been practicing this for a while, and it could be, something that's in my head, but it's something I've been practicing.
maybe
It's interesting because I know when I went to New Zealand, I had, again, strong orgasm experience, and they were very downward. Now, I had never really experienced it that much before that way but it's I was in a different hemisphere.
Mm.
wow.
So I was turned up. I mean, in a way, I was a bit like Odin, hanging upside down, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm just saying. I know this is a bit funny to talk about, but it's really
it's great.
serious
I love it.
because I mean, it's like, yeah, there was a downward. Yeah, and I was kind of shocked by it because I had never really experienced it before. So I mean, it was like welcome to New Zealand. Anyway, sorry, that's really what it was like. So I was like, anyway,
I want the welcome that she gets, right?
Yeah.
I'll have what she's having.
Yeah.
Well, I guess on that note, we gotta wrap
You
it
gotta
up.
run.
It
Okay.
has to go. So how
Yes.
do we, what final message can we give these women, our viewers here, to help them with their womb? Where, like, just to close it up, just for me, it's like, wow, let's remember
Mm,
to call
okay.
in Sophia, soul, the cosmic soul.
Yeah, and I would try all of these different things. We kind of covered all these different senses and ways and tools, and if you just kind of try them all out, the sounding, the breathing. It's always the very primal, tapping your heart, tapping your womb, just becoming aware of your body and your heart and your womb, and just that awareness, the cosmic soul, Sophia. I would think that that's in itself. Call upon Durga, make sure you have good defenses,
Get out in nature.
get out in nature.
Get
Yeah.
your feet, bare feet in the ground. Yeah.
Yeah. And I wanted to say also, yes, like what you're saying, Tara, it's like being aware is like the most that you even have a womb, right? That you can potentially feel the womb eventually at some point. We don't always feel it in the beginning, that's for sure. It took me a while to feel it. And I still have to really like concentrate. So I imagine the womb. I know exactly where it is. I've done, I've looked at diagrams. It's really quite low, right, all the way down there. And you can actually feel the top of your own womb, apparently. I mean, I can, if you, there's this little divot where your gut and just a couple inches above your pubic bone, where that's the top of your womb poking over the bladder. You can actually press it.
wow, that's cool.
Right. And then what do you feel when you press it? It's like, oh, I feel it all the way down into the yoni. It's pressing on the yoni. So it really is like, oh my God, you can actually feel your own womb. Like that's, to me, that's, and imagining it. And, I work with a lot of using the imagination to get connected, and then you can start feeling the energy. But I think as long as you're connecting to your womb, that's like step one. You are not allowing, as you were saying, Karen, that breathing in unconsciously, it's like your womb is now consciously, you're connected to your womb, so it's more protected from unwanted, unconscious things that are being shed off of the V, whatever's, and it's like, I think that's such a great starting place, and just picking whatever feels good to connect. Like outside, as you step on the earth, just put your hand on your womb, like make that connection between the earth and your womb. That's just going to help start the relationship, because so many women I know, it's like, even I know a midwife or a doula, she said after she stopped bleeding, she doesn't really connect to her womb anymore. And she was a doula. And I'm like, really? You just gonna just throw it out with the, you don't need your womb anymore just because you're not bleeding and having children? Like, OMG. So I was like, that's just, we're not taught to connect to the amazingness of it, anyway.
And that it's so sacred, so like a little pocket of heaven.
A little pocket of heaven.
I love that.
I mean, Maureen, you just keep reminding us that it goes even beyond, I'm very connected to the physical aspect of the womb, and you keep reminding me of the cosmic aspect. And I so appreciate that.
Like, I would think that that's the place to take refuge. Like, that's what the Buddhists talk about. Take refuge in your own little pocket of heaven. The world gets to be too much for you. Just, I would think, put your hand on your heart, put your hand on your womb, and just walk around that way. Just make sure they're there,
Right.
And that just, I think, automatically starts the process, like kind of trusting that that's the natural way to be. Women, when they get menopausal, they hold their wise blood within. Congratulations, you're a crone, you're an elder, it's a crown. Crone means a crown, so menopausal women are like, have more power than they've ever had. They keep their wise blood within.
And can I add then to that I think back in matriarchal times, we all were crowning as young women too. We kept the blood within
Mhm,
as young women.
mhm. Good point, Maureen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Ah, it's so
Well,
healing
thank
just
you.
meeting
That
like this
was
with you all.
really full. I'm
Yes.
so grateful for this, our little circle.